Content almost every day here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Be sure you're locked in. If you are a Hawkeye fan, take a moment to just scroll down, make sure you're subscribed, maybe even turn the notification bell on and hit the like button. That is very helpful. If you can do that, helps us in the algorithm, and tell your friends about the content here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Of course, the lifeblood of this show is our post-game coverage. And yes, Coach John Patterson will be back with me in 2024 to break down every game. As it relates to today, before we get to our talking point and the content for today's video, I want to thank our sponsor, Iowa Floor Covering, down in Bondurant. Give them a call, 515-379-7000 for all of your flooring, tile needs, carpet needs, whatever the case may be. Visit iowafloorcovering.com or call them 515-379-7000. So we're talking about offensive tackle Lucas Allgeyer committing to the Hawkeyes. This news broke, earlier this month, and Allgeyer was part of that big official visit weekend in June. Iowa reaping a number of benefits. They tend to do very well when they get a bunch of these kids on campus. And here's a kid that on threes got rated as a 4-star recruit. He's a 3-star according to the other big websites, 247, Rivals, and ESPN. He's out of the St. Louis area. Iowa's done very good in St. Louis. The most recent example of that being Zach Ortworth, who played as a true freshman tight end last year. So Allgeyer comes in at 6'5", 285. He does have another year of high school in front of him. He's part of that 2025 class. On3 has him as a top 15 offensive tackle in the country. That is a very impressive number when you stop and think about it. The On3 composite says he's top 25. The offer list would suggest as much. He took visits to Iowa, Kansas State, and Northwestern, but also had offers from Nebraska, Miami, Florida, Iowa State, Washington, Ole Miss, North Carolina State, Michigan State, Kansas, Cincinnati, Minnesota, and more. Now, if that last name, Allgeyer, sounds familiar, his cousin Nick Allgeyer was a really good pitcher for Iowa, played for Rick Heller and the baseball squad from 2015 to 2018. He was a first-team All-Big Ten pitcher, had a brief stint in the major leagues. I think he's still trying to prolong his professional career. And his uncle, we're talking about Lucas's uncle, Ken Allgeyer, played for Iowa football under Hayden Fry. In fact, I reached out to Coach Don Patterson, and yes, Don does remember Ken Allgeyer. Sounds like, by all accounts, really good dude and a good family. And apparently, based on, I believe it was an On3 article that I read, Lucas Allgeyer does have cousins who played high major college football and played up front along an offensive line. His uncle Ken now works for Bally Sports Midwest, formerly known as Fox Sports Midwest. So a lot of sports, the connections within this young man's family. He would be considered a legacy recruit. If you ever heard that term, he is a legacy recruit with the connections with his uncle and certainly his cousin. And it's interesting, his defensive line coach back in high school, Mike Wells, a defensive lineman at Iowa who Kirk Ferentz recruited, and he was a first-team All-Big Ten player. He played from 1989 to 1993, so he was actually teammates with Ken Allgeyer. So the connections are almost uncanny. He played for several NFC North teams, a very successful NFL player. So very interesting. You watch this young man on tape, smart football player, clearly, and that is not a surprise given his roots, his heritage. He's got excellent size. I mentioned 6'5". I think one website's even got him at 6'5.5". Maybe he grows another inch in college. He's listed already at 285, so they obviously like his size, like his length. He's got very solid length. You can tell he's a strong kid and great genes, great bloodlines. And again, the offer list is quite impressive. The one thing I don't see on tape, and I'm no O-line guru, but it does not appear to me that he's got great explosion. I watched some of his junior season highlights, and most of that is him playing as a defensive lineman. I don't know what his junior year looked like on the offensive side, but I don't see a ton of explosion there. That doesn't necessarily mean much. If he's playing on the offensive side, I certainly don't think he's going to play on the defensive side at Iowa. You do wonder a little bit about his feet, if he's going to be an outside guy. Does he have good enough feet to play tackle at the Big Ten level? Obviously, a lot of schools, including an offensive line guru and Kirk Ferentz, think he does. But those would be my overall observations. Again, a lot of really positive things when you watch him but I just wonder about feet and explosion, and hopefully he'll prove me wrong. But he has given his pledge to Iowa. He joins Joey Van Wetzinga and Cameron Herron, both solid prospects who are expected to play offensive line once they get to Iowa. So congratulations to Lucas Allgeyer and the Allgeyer clan. A lot of Hawkeye heritage there in those bloodlines. And we'll continue to pump out content, folks, as we get closer to Big Ten Media Days next week, Iowa Media Day in August, Kids Day in August, and the season in August on August 31st. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.